Uh, Braden is a serial entrepreneur. His first two companies he started while at university. He started two really original ideas. One was a ride-sharing app, another was a social media company. Third time's a charm. And we started Voiceflow, head of AI, basically boom, a company that's helping teams collaborate and build better assistants. Braden, get a mic and share some knowledge. Sorry. Yeah.
Cool. Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing? Woo. Cool. So I got my clicker here. I want to start off by saying, can I get hands up for who's like an AI startup in the room? Okay, cool. So this is a pretty short talk, but it's tangentially related to AI. But I think it's to be helpful to everyone in AI, especially. So I run a company called Voiceflow. I did a TechTO like 3 or 4 years ago when we were just starting, and I got like 3 hands. Who here has heard of Voiceflow? That's a little bit better than 3. Anyone here a customer? Oh, there we go. Jason doesn't count. So today's talk is going to be how to build a platform in a world of point solutions. And this might be a bunch of B2B jargon, but I think it's going to be really helpful for the AI companies especially, because there's so much buzz. Everyone's talking about platform this, platform that. How do you actually build a business in this space? And so I want to actually ask the audience, and we're not going to do mics or anything, so just yell. Who here has a good definition for a platform? Someone have any hands up? So, yeah, do you want to yell?
Yeah, something on which your product depends that is outside your immediate scope of control.
That's a pretty good one. Can anyone top that? Yeah.
I'll probably define it as
A tool that allows you to build multiple things. I like that as well. All right, maybe one last one. Anyone? Yeah. A thing that has things on it. That's very reductionist, but I like it. Okay, cool. Let's do the point solution now. Does anyone have a good definition for point solution? Everything else. Cool. Okay, I'm going to skip to the fun part. So platforms are toolkits. Point solutions solve problems. Best way to think about this is if you just need gold, buy a point solution. It solves the problem. You have a customer support problem. You've got too many tickets coming in. You should be buying a point solution. But some people, they want a very particular type of gold. They want a very particular type of metal, whatever it is. And so instead of buying the raw material, they're going to go ahead and actually buy the pickaxe and dig it themselves. So I think all the platform answers were actually pretty spot on. It is when you provide people with a toolkit. Now, the problem when you are building a platform is you can do 80% of everything and 100% of nothing. And so you have a lot of unique challenges here. Actually, any hands up for people who are building what they would describe as a platform here? Okay, a couple. This talk is specifically for you guys. Hopefully this helps. Yeah, so platforms are meant to be flexible. That's really kind of the key tenet, again, with toolkits. Point solutions are meant to be as easy as humanly possible. I think generally, startups should be really clear, especially in the B2B space, on what type of solution are you. If you're meant to be as easy as possible, you're trying to hide away a lot of the power, because on every great product, it's going to be on a spectrum between easy and powerful. And so let's actually think about like a website building tool. The easiest website building tool would just be like a Claude 3.5 Sonnet example, where you just say, hey, here's the website I want, and it goes ahead and it generates it. Every time you add a new widget, a new button to your tool, you're adding complexity, you're adding power at the same time. And I think as founders, we need to think really long and hard about the added cost of power, because just because you have a powerful platform means it actually gets harder to use. Great product design can shrink that trade-off, but over time, the most powerful platform can also not be the most easy platform. Anyone here use Webflow? Okay, lots of people. Anyone here use Wix? Those are opposite ends of the spectrum. That's why they're completely different types of businesses. I'd argue Wix is much more of a, Wix is also a platform, but it's a little bit more point solution-y than maybe something like a Webflow. Yeah, Voiceflow is a platform. Thank you for the one customer in the room. You know this. Next slide. Cool. This is a little bit about Voiceflow. We've got a bunch of customers globally and stuff now. Just so you know, I'm not spewing just randomness without any sort of backing. Okay, now let's talk about why building a platform is hard. Number one, you do everything 80% and 100%, and you do nothing 100% well. What this often means is when you're building a platform, you're focusing on offering core APIs. If you guys are using Cohere as a great example of a Toronto-based platform for AI models, it's really hard to build a customer support solution 100% with Cohere because they don't have native integrations out of the box. But it can do every application 80% well. So again, that's a bit of a trade-off. Your messaging is features, not solutions. When you think about your website as a platform, what you're talking about are the things that you can, the types of tools you offer. For Voiceflow, it's going to be a knowledge base. It's going to be a workflow builder. But you're not talking about business outcomes because you actually don't have business outcomes because you can do kind of everything. And it makes it really, really challenging to actually go ahead and message your platform. A good example of this that we actually had the other day, just to make it a little bit more tangible, is someone asked us why we don't do pricing for AI resolution. And so a lot of customer support point solutions in the AI space are able to, anyone here use Intercom? I'm doing a lot of hands up today, but yeah. You guys get charged $1 per ticket resolution using their Fin AI product. And we had a bunch of customers say, hey, why doesn't Voiceflow do that? Well, it's because we have customers who do every type of use case. We can't charge, because a message for customer support might be different than, we have customers who are doing consumer applications, customers that are doing in-car driving assistance, voice automated toys. Like, the per message cost is going to be completely different, so even how you price is going to be different. So it's another kind of unique challenge of a platform versus a point solution. Yeah, your user base lacks consistency. This is the bane of our existence at Voiceflow, is you have so many users, but none of them are really doing the same things. They're all using your product in completely different ways. And we're going to talk about how you solve each of these problems, but I'm just kind of highlighting them. When you have users who are doing all types of different use cases, there's no one conference you can go to that's going to have all your users in one place. You have the customer support users, you have, again, in-car assistants, you're going to have customer experience, in-app co-pilots. We've seen an Asian OnlyFans at one point was using Voiceflow. Like, you have a very wide variety of use cases that can be built, and it makes it really difficult from a consistency standpoint. And then lastly, it takes longer to build everything. Reason for this is when you're building platforms, you're building systems. The way you build product is fundamentally different. So what you have to do when you're building a point solution is a customer comes in, and all your customers hopefully kind of look the same, and they say, hey, I have problem A. And thankfully, because all your customers look the same, you can go, okay, great. We can go ahead and build a feature, an integration with Salesforce, an integration with whatever to solve problem A. When you're building a platform, you have customers A, B, and C, and they're all completely different use cases, and they all need integrations with different systems. So you need to actually sit there and say, how do I build a system of integrations? How do I build an SDK? How do I build something that's going to allow for scale across horizontal use cases? And so it takes a lot longer. And ultimately, it goes back to that 80% problem where you can solve anything 80% of the way, but nothing 100%, and often the customer has to do a little bit of work themselves. So these are some of the core challenges of building a platform, all the way from go-to-market to product strategy, pricing, messaging, anything like that. How to overcome these problems. So yeah, the first is you're trying to build systems. I just kind of went into this. You have to get your customers on board with the idea that you're not going to have everything out of the box, but they're also not unhinged. And so you actually have to flip the script on the narrative. When a lot of customers say, hey, I don't have the integration, or you guys don't have the integration that you need to be able to highlight that, A, this might not be the right product, and B, if it is the right product, it's also more scalable to many other integrations now. This is also, I actually don't have it on the slide, but it opens up a really unique opportunity for the platforms to actually start working with service partners. So I heard there were some agencies up front. Agencies love platforms, and they can actually be an amazing distribution channel. So if you're a platform struggling to get your first customers, you can work with these agencies who will actually do the implementation for their customers using your platform, and suddenly all the disadvantages that you have in terms of lacking repeatability, in terms of it's too difficult to actually get to 100%, suddenly actually become your strengths, because the agency now has a new thing they can sell. They have a full customization because of your platform. And ultimately, it becomes a really great kind of symbiotic relationship, which is why businesses like a Webflow have relied so heavily on partners. 2, when you're building a platform, the thing you need to focus on really early, and this is kind of the crux of the whole problem, is you have to focus on a few core use cases. You almost need to have the go-to-market, how you sell, how you market, how you talk to customers, needs to focus on a couple of use cases at first, and then over time, as the company grows, you can get broader and broader and broader. You know, kind of the joke here is when you guys see a platform's first, like seed stage website, it's often like, you know, let's take like an accounting company. It's extremely specific. It's going to be accounting automation for Xero, right? Something like that. And then as the company gets bigger, eventually it's Series D, and it's like imagine your dreams or something like that. It's it's extremely vague. That's because they're able to broaden their scope as a platform. They're able to do so many different things. That's kind of how you should be running your company as well. Talk to your early users. You may have 100 different use cases. I know at Voiceflow we've got thousands. But we really focus on customer support automation, customer experience automation, so that our sales team and our marketing team have something to go at. And then we're able to build some repeatability in that motion, because otherwise you're going to be trying to boil the ocean. You need to essentially build your business in concentric circles. Go after one use case, stop, build the business, be able to take on more capital, gain more traction, next use case, and you kind of build it out in circles like that. Target prospects who need a platform. So the right, and I'm going to talk about this through our own example. The right customers for Voiceflow are those people who know that they need a platform. And so for us, it's typically product teams. So if I give a good example, JP Morgan's a great customer of ours. They have a big product team that is dedicated to conversational AI, because they have said it is such a need for them that a point solution it's not powerful enough, it's not flexible enough. They're looking for a product. And so typically when you're selling a point solution, you're going to sell into business lines, meaning it's going to be the customer support team, the sales team, the marketing team. When you're building a platform, you're often selling into product teams, companies that are actually product first. They approach problems with product and engineering and that kind of mindset. And you need to align with customers who want that. If you're trying to compete with a point solution as a platform and the customer wants a point solution, it's going to be really painful. And you actually end up, you might win the deal every now and then, but it's going to be really hard to service that customer. And it actually might be better to say, hey, you know what you guys need is going to be this much more simple solution. If you guys ever need multiple use cases, multiple things, let us know, and a platform will be a better fit for you. And then lastly, this goes with the number 4. Because building a platform takes so long, have you guys seen David Sachs, who's an investor at Craft Ventures, posted a revenue graph of Figma. Figma took, I believe it was 11 years to get the 300 million ARR. Has anyone seen that chart that I'm referring to on Twitter? Maybe a couple hands up. Here's how it goes for everyone. It's flat, 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 flat for like 8 years, something like that, and then vertically up. Really because they were focusing on building a product and a platform, and building systems takes a long time. It's not like a typical B2B step function where you kind of close the deal at a time and you build out more features. You need to maintain the financial discipline to be able to do that, and that's really, really hard. And so it requires conversations with your investors to be able to have a longer runway, to be able to withstand kind of years of building out. And ultimately, you can build a really big business, right? Platforms are really exciting. It's awesome providing a tool company and seeing customers build on top, but it takes a really long time to do so. And so when you're starting a platform company, where normally you might have 12 to 18 months of runway, you should probably be thinking like 18 to 36, just because it takes a lot longer to get that initial traction when you're versus a company like a point solution. So hopefully this was helpful as we think about kind of frameworks to think through point solutions and platforms, especially for the AI companies. Everyone's describing themselves as a platform. You should know which of the two you are, and you should be really thoughtful around use case selection, financial discipline, and also thinking about how you build features. Because both platforms and point solutions are great businesses, but you need to know which one you are, because if you aren't, you might be in a world of pain. So I hope that was helpful, and I'd love to answer any questions if you guys have them.
Thank you. Questions? I'll ask the first question to Alex. So, it sounds great. You're going to start a platform. It takes longer to get traction. How do you sell this to investors? Because everyone here always complains about raising money. So how do you sell investors to be patient with you to get traction?
Yeah, what's really exciting about platforms is the long-term potential to tackle multiple use cases. And so at Voiceflow, we can talk about a huge TAM, right? Ultimately, what we're trying to help businesses do is introduce AI automation across any repeatable task: customer support, internal RPA, employee onboarding. There's a ton of things that can be automated. But that's the big vision, right? And so I think you need to be able to tell that story as a founder. Here's the big vision. Here's what we're going for. It's a huge pie. A point solution might actually be a more constrained pie. It's a little bit smaller, but you need to be able to tell that kind of ladder up story. This is the initial market that we're going for. This is the second market we're going to go after that, and here's how it kind of builds up to that final market. It's really important you have both the initial understanding of use case, pain point, and problem, as well as kind of the direction of where it could go. And this is very similar to any kind of fundraising story, FYI. But I think for platforms, you need to be able to have that kind of discussion that, hey, this initial market, it might seem small. This initial use case might not seem that exciting, but look where this is going to build into. And you really need to tell that kind of like ladder narrative.
Love it. Any other questions? Last chance. Okay. We're going to run up with you to Mike.
Then we got one over
Keep
there.
that hand up.
Hi. So you did mention that you focus on AI automation. Could you briefly go into a little bit of information about other API services that you utilize with Voiceflow?
So, I mean, for the most part, we allow our customers to use any underlying large language model. So we actually don't have any other APIs there. So how Voiceflow works is we have a graphic interface that allows you to essentially build out your business logic, your conversation logic, whatever it needs to be, hook it up to all your internal services, and then you can have that be powered by any other large language model provider. So we don't choose for you. Like, again, kind of going in the platform ethos of being extremely flexible. You can use Claude, you can use OpenAI, you can use Mistral. It's kind of whatever's up to you. Yeah. Cool, yeah.
Hi, thank you so much for your presentation, Braden. My question is, how has building a platform changed you as a person? Because you could be a point solution as a person, and also in your career you can build yourself like a platform. How has it shaped you as an individual, and how did you kind of deal with some of the challenges there?
That's actually a fun question. I've never thought about how being a platform B2B founder changes my personality. I think you have to have extreme conviction in what you're building as a platform, because otherwise it would be much easier to be a point solution. Like because I think the challenge is there are so many things you could do. And so you have to have the ability to say no to a lot more things, versus I think when you're a point solution, it's a little bit more constrained. When we work with the customer support folks, it's a much tighter problem set, and the problems feel a lot more achievable. Versus with the platform, you're trying to find like the 20% of people who want to be a product team who actually want to build their own thing in each vertical, and so it's just really stressful. I think it's probably a grass is greener thing. Being a founder, as everyone knows, is ridiculously hard anyways. But yeah, I think as a person, it teaches you a lot about prioritization, because we had a phase at the company where we definitely tried to boil the ocean. H1 of the website was build automation. It's like, for what, right? And I think that you realize that the most important job that you have as a founder is that prioritization and being able to say no to things. It's funny, I'm sure everyone here who's managed products before, we have customers all the time who say, you guys are idiots, you just need to build X, right? And then we actually had our roadmap review like a couple hours ago today, and we have 5,000 X's, and the customer's screaming at you like it's so obvious, because they're one of many different viewpoints, and so you as a founder need to be able to prioritize appropriately and understand that the end goal that you're trying to get to is the top of the ladder, but you kind of have to take it one rung at a time, and I think that's really challenging. So yeah, nothing particularly unique, I think, for the founder's journey. I think B2C founders find the exact same thing.
One last question. Where's it coming from?
Hey,
Oh, go ahead.
hey, Brandon. Great presentation. In your initial days, did you start off thinking that this is going to be a point solution and slowly transition into platform? And B, when you're going after the framework of, hey, like I'm going after the customer support, what was sort of the framework that you used to identify the initial use cases?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we actually started out wanting to build a platform, and honestly, again, it's almost like a masochistic, the thought of a masochist to want to build a platform, but we thought it was just really cool to provide tools to other people who want to build things. Like, I think it was honestly more of like a fascination of the founding team than like, you know, when you think about building a company, it's kind of like the most meta thing, right? You're building a company that builds products. Well, how about a company that builds a product that builds products, right? We just thought it was a really cool thing. And so yeah, we kind of always had that plan in mind. It's just a lot harder than we thought, as everyone finds out. And then in terms of use case selection, this is just talking to customers. I think, you know, with AI automation, customer support's really the obvious one, of course. It's the one that gets talked about the most. It's the one that we see a ton of demand in. I would say to find less obvious use cases, though, like, for example, employee onboarding was one that we actually, you know, we've seen a lot of repeatability in that, which has been interesting. That just comes from talking to users. Like, if you talk to enough people, you'd be surprised by what people build with your product. I think the tougher challenge, because, you know, we've got about 250,000 users now, so if we have a big enough base to chat with. In the early days, though, I think the question that you would ask next, if I was to say, you know, not be on stage here, would be, how do you find those early users? And so I'm going to give everyone that answer. I would try to build community as soon as you can in a platform, and honestly, just in any company. We've done this through like everything I've ever done now. We've always started with community. It's really useful because people now want you to win because they feel a part of something. They talk to the founders. You know, they're getting feedback. They're on your team, right? And they want you to win, and that allows them to get over any product bug, get over any outage that you have, more than they would some faceless corporation, right? So if you're building a product, if you take one thing away from today, if you have some sort of community aspect, you know, I know hardware and wearables probably a little bit different. If you have any sort of way to introduce community, whether it be a Discord or a Facebook group or something like that, it is extremely powerful. Now, communities take a long time to spin up, and the eventual goal is where community members are helping community members, and it kind of runs on its own. That's the dream. But in the early days, you just have to use it every day, be posting, talking to people, getting them involved, and you'd be shocked at how much tolerance people will give you and how much you'll learn from having a user community early on. So kind of gave you a question, put a question in your mouth and answered it, but I hope that was helpful. And then
Can I get a round of applause for Braden?